Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for joining us here this afternoon at the National Center for Aviation Training and for a very important discussion of the future of the aviation industry. This is a world-class training facility that we're gathered at here today. It provides students the opportunities to receive hands-on, real-world training in the areas of general aviation manufacturing and aircraft and power plant mechanics, which just provides really the backbone to one of our state's most important industries, aviation, building of aircraft. General aviation is an enormous business in this state and in this country. More than 1 million Americans work in general aviation building airplanes. Generates $150 billion in revenue annually to our country's economy, is a major source of balance of trade payments in our favor instead of going the other way. It's one of our key export industries for this country. High-wage, high-skill manufacturing jobs, building things that go around the world to make more people more efficient. I might even note, I flew in today on a business aviation aircraft made in Wichita, and it made me able to get at a meeting in Kansas City, to be in Wichita, and also to get back to Topeka yet today. And people all across the country and all across the world use these aircraft to be more efficient. 90% of our airports don't receive commercial aviation for as far as people being able to buy a ticket and go to this airport to fly out. 90% of them you can't get to. Only 10%. So why do we have the other 90%? So it's people that can fly in on business aviation and be able to work their jobs, do their business in an efficient and effective way. At least 30,000 people in Kansas are employed in the aviation industry. More than 40% globally of general aviation aircraft are built in Kansas, built right here. Approximately 200 suppliers and innovative companies do business-related jobs in aviation in Kansas. And get this, I love this figure. More than 250,000 aircraft have been built in Kansas. 250,000. That is a fabulous number. That's why it's alarming that on multiple occasions the President of the United States has seen fit to use business jets as political pawns by erroneously claiming tax laws that allows companies to deduct the cost of buying an aircraft from their taxable income jeopardizes such things as education, funding, or medical research or public safety. Nothing could be further from the truth. Up here with me is the 4th District Congressman, Mike Pompeo. Now, he's not here in person. He's with us from Washington, D.C. on video. He's doing the job we need him to do, which is to balance the budget, which is critical. But also with me, along with Mike Pompeo, our union and business leaders, we are standing here today united to send one message to the country and to the President to support Kansas jobs and stop using your attacks on the aviation industry that is harmful to this business. This is a key American business. It is a key Kansas business. And I want to make one other comment before I go to Congressman Pompeo. Right after 9/11, the aviation industry was in another difficult time. We get hit 9/11, a lot of aircraft industry is hurt, is stopped. One of the key things we used at that point in time to get business aviation building aircraft again was the depreciation schedule and giving a bonus depreciation. That came in. What took place afterwards is people said, oh, look, I can make this economically work, and they started buying aircraft again and started employing Kansans and Americans again in a high-wage, high-skilled job. That's what we're talking about losing here. We have an industry that's had difficulty in recent years. We need this to continue this industry and for it to grow and not have the industry go overseas. We don't need this industry to be lost to the United States. It doesn't need to be lost to the United States. And if we will continue to be able to have policies, tax policies, that help the industry and a president that stops harming the industry, we can grow and continue these jobs here. I want to first turn the microphone over to Mike Pompeo, who I'm sure wish he could be here in person, but's got very important business he's taking care of in Washington. Congressman Pompeo, update us on what's taking place in this fight.
Thank you, Governor. I do wish I could be there. I understand it's just a little cooler here than it is there today, but we are hard at work. Last night, the House passed with a bipartisan group of folks voted to put our nation draw South Central Kansas together. And so I thank Mr. Brewer and Mr. Rooney coming today. I thank Mr. Nichols for representing the Chamber and all the business folks and all the hard workers in the aviation industry in Kansas being with us today. You know, every day in Washington, D.C., I spend my time making sure and spread the gospel about how important this industry is and about what it means to America and to Kansas to have that industry here making product all around the world. You know, I have a special knowledge about it. I was in this industry myself for 10 years, and I know what it means to be competitive and to have an industry that's so important to a place. I'll actually, right after this press conference, I've actually got a meeting with the Secretary of Transportation, Mr. LaHood, and I will again talk to him about the same things I talked to him about when he came to visit Wichita just a few months ago, where he said how important this industry was. It's so disappointing to hear a president who is now backing away from that commitment. So I appreciate everyone for being there in Wichita today. I wish I could be with you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Brewer.
Thanks, Congressman. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work there. Bob Brewer is to be here with us, hasn't arrived yet, so I'm going to go next instead to Steve Rooney. He's District President of the Machinist and State President of the AFL-CIO for his comments. Steve?
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. I want to move that to the side if you'd like, or even to the
No,
side.
just lower it down here a little. Welcome everybody here today. Want to recognize some of the people from the shop floors that build these aircraft here that we're here talking about today. Several of them around the room here that are recognized. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the business leaders again and everybody being here. This is a huge issue here for Kansas. This, not only Kansas, but the aviation industry is the last of the great industries that we have here in this country, and we need to support it. We need to continue the fight. Recently, I had the opportunity to attend the Paris Air Show, a real eye-opener. I was there with 40 other unions from around the world, and every one of them are there fighting for these jobs. And if we don't support it here, if we don't give everything here that's needed to continue to support it, I assure you these other countries will, and these other countries will take the jobs that we do today. They build many of our parts today. We need to continue this fight, continue to support this aviation industry. You heard the governor on the statistics of how many people are employed here in this. In March of this year, we were across town at Cessna Aircraft with the Secretary of Transportation, Ray LaHood, and another delegation. And we were told there by the Transportation Department, we get it. We've seen the loss of jobs. We've heard from you. We get it. The president gets it. Obviously, with these attacks, somebody doesn't get it. We got to continue to support it. We believe, or there's a belief out there that these planes are only used by CEOs and the wealthy. That's not the case. They're no different than the people in the shop floor. They're a tool to do the jobs. Most of these people that are flying on these aircraft are the managers and the people out there trying to contact the suppliers, the customers, the people they're selling to on a daily basis. And you can't do that in the commercial airline. The numbers of flights aren't there. It's the only way they can do it and continue that business is to do it and support the business jets that we build here in Wichita and here in Kansas, and keep these jobs here and keep them here in the state of Kansas. And I encourage each and every one of you to send that message to anybody and everybody that we need to make sure that continues to happen. We're standing here in a facility built to train the next generation of people to build these aircraft. And I supported this program. I supported this place. And if we don't continue to do it and show support for it, why did we do this? Somebody else, another state or another country is waiting there to take it. We must support aviation in Kansas and here in Wichita. Thank you. And with that, turn it over to Chairman of the Chamber, Lynn Nichols.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you all for taking time out in your busy day to come join us today. Before I begin my remarks, I'd like to introduce, if I may, a few of the representatives from our 5 aircraft manufacturers. Jim Walters, Senior Vice President for Cessna, is here. I'd also like to recognize Peggy Gross from Bombardier Learjet. And we have Bill Brown, Executive Vice President of Global Operations for Hawker Beach, as well as Rich Agiowalt from Hawker Beach. And Debbie Gand, Vice President of Corporate Communications and Public Affairs with Spirit Aerosystems. And John O'Leary, Vice President of Engineering for Airbus, is here. So I appreciate them taking their time out in their days to join us. I know what we have to talk about today is very important to them as well. Just a little bit of fact I want to share with you. Did you know that Wichita manufactures and services more jets and aircraft than any other city in the world? Thousands of Kansans are employed either directly by our 5 aircraft manufacturers or indirectly by their suppliers, service organizations, including our own local machine shops. When the President takes a swing at private jet owners and operators, he also attacks thousands of hardworking Kansans who make and export what we all believe and we all know, one of the finest export products in the United States to the world. And did you know that 1/4 of our state general fund tax receipts are contributed directly from our 5 aircraft manufacturers? So you can see the impact that this industry has not only in the world, but certainly right here home in Wichita and the state of Kansas. So when he has taken some verbal attacks against our industry, it really sends very destructive vibrations throughout our community. It not only hurts our industry as a whole, but it certainly hurts the Wichita community and the people that make up the community, our workers, in all aspects. As chair of the Chamber of Commerce, not only are we very interested in the health and welfare of our aircraft manufacturers, we also pay attention to our other business members, those that run restaurants, those that have clothing, apparel, and what comes downstream when we hear these attacks at our industry is it touches those other businesses as well. So I just kind of like to leave it with this, and that is the aviation industry has never done anything to warrant these kind of verbal assaults. To the contrary, what we do in Wichita and the state of Kansas is we make very good product that's very safe, reliable, and is served as a productive tool for business, including the President, the First Lady, the Vice President, and his cabinet members. And if you took those tools away, such as aircraft from them, how well could the government run? Remember, it's reliable, safe, and productive transportation. Thank you. At this time, I want to introduce you to what I think is a gentleman that's immensely in love and very caring for the city of Wichita, Mayor Carl Brewer.
Well, first of all, let me say good afternoon. I'm Carl Brewer, Mayor of the City of Wichita, and Wichita, which is known as the air capital of the world. And I also want to take an opportunity to recognize that have joined me today, my colleagues. I have Councilmember James Clendenin, who's over here, along with Councilmember Pete Meichner and Councilmember Jeff Longwell, that have joined us. But I'm happy to report that our entire City Council recognize the importance of aviation and how important you are and what you do here for our community. You know, aircraft manufacturing is the cornerstone of our local and state economy. And we know that every aircraft manufacturing job creates an additional 3 jobs and our local economy. We also know that the comments of the U.S. President are very powerful and can have a major impact on our community. I've made numerous efforts to pass those concerns along to the President. When Transportation Secretary LaHood visited Wichita this summer, I asked him to renew my invitation to the President to visit Wichita. We think he needs to see firsthand how important aviation is to our nation's economy. Just a couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation after the President made some comments about our aviation industry. And I talked with the White House with David Agnew. And we had an extensive conversation, and I spent the time in educating him how many jobs it actually created and what the impact was to America, and also how we did with trade and how we were #1, and that we also provided $150 billion to the U.S. economy. That's nothing to frown about. That is something for us to be proud about, is what we do. Just last week, I joined mayors from 6 different states in a letter to President Obama regarding his comments. In that letter, we told the President, general aviation is a vital part of our economy and national infrastructure. And we are extremely concerned about the repercussions of your statements and of an already struggling economy. General aviation is an economic engine for our national economy, supporting 1.2 million American jobs and an annual economic impact of more than $150 billion. These aircraft are the lifeline to thousands of communities across our nation, providing access to business growth, law enforcement, disaster relief, medical care, and other services. As you know, Mr. President, the vast majority of businesses and organizations that fly airplanes are not the wealthy CEOs. Rather, they are small to mid-sized businesses and organizations that rely on these aircraft to reach far-off plants and customers, rural markets, or deliver medical care and other services. At such vulnerable times for our economy, we need to be doing everything that we can to support this vital industry. We stand ready to work with you and members of Congress on this and all issues related to communities and local economies around the nation. This was signed by mayors from the state of Kansas, Arkansas, Iowa, Maryland, and South Dakota, who have all partnered with us and created an organization called the Alliance for Aviation Across America. It's a nonpartisan coalition of over 5,700 individuals representing businesses, agricultural groups, FBOs, small airports, elected officials, charitable organizations, and leading businesses and aviation groups. The message that the President has to understand that we're not just talking about businesses and what's going on here. We're talking about the lives of real families. We're talking about generations of individuals that are trying to make a difference as to whether or not they want to go into the aviation industry. We're talking about the future of this country and whether we're going to stay in the aviation business or not. And I think that we want to, and we're asking the President to support us on this effort and to stop any negative comments that he may have against our industry. Thank you. I'll be followed by our County Commissioner, David Underwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, I want to say that I'm pleased to be here this afternoon with you.
Thank you, Dave. I want to take 2 minutes and put this in context and explain to folks what's going on. The President's comments, the attacks, the class warfare argument that this President put forward is nothing more than cover for a political challenge he faces. He spent too much money. And now he's trying to attack the hardworking folks in South Central Kansas and trying to tell a story about how he's going to solve that problem by changing the very nature of the manufacturing industry in South Central Kansas. Look, he started with attacking Las Vegas. He's now attacking airplanes in Kansas. I suspect next it'll be oranges in Florida. We've watched as he spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to resurrect the automotive manufacturing industry. And now he's trying to destroy one that's asking for nothing more than to let us be and to go let us grow. We know Kansans can make that happen. We don't need these political attacks. The changes he's proposing to tax policy would make up a tiny fraction of the $1.5 trillion deficit that he's placed on our nation this year. We're talking less than $3 billion over a 10-year period against the president's deficit of $1.5 trillion. The president just doesn't get it, but we do. You see the group assembled before you here today. We understand. We know how to compete. We know what it means to the American worker. And we're going to work hard both in Kansas and all work hard in Washington, D.C. to make sure this president finally understands what it means to create jobs in America. With that, thank you all very much.
Thanks, Congressman. Appreciate that. I do want to recognize a number of state legislators that are here today. If you're from the House or the Senate, if you'd hold your hand up high so people could see, because we've got a large amount of good contingency, that strong supporters of the aviation sector. I think our message is clear, and we want to make it loud to the president. Please, Mr. President, don't kill the goose that laid the golden egg. This is a star manufacturing industry. It is one with lots of challenges and competitors from overseas that want these jobs in China and Brazil and Europe and other places. They want these jobs. We're going to fight to keep them. And we need some bit of assistance, and please, no attacks from the president so that we can maintain these manufacturing jobs in the United States. There's probably no community in America that is hurt more by these comments of the president on jet business aircraft than Wichita, Kansas, and the state of Kansas. And we ask, please stop so that we can continue to build planes in America. Thank you all for joining us here today. We'll be available for questions or comments if any of the media would like from any of the people here today. Thanks for joining us. God bless.